Hey guys, thanks for watching Weddings by CLED, and this is one of those episodes where I'm going to answer a question about the bar at the wedding reception. Should I just do wine and beer, or should we do full bar with everything, with all the spirits and all the alcohol? And then there's that other thing, is should we just do wine and beer with just specialty drinks? So I'm going to address, the differences and the advantages and the disadvantages to all three. Now, if you are someone who is doing a dry wedding, you can watch, but have fun with that. It's all good. The video is probably not for you, but like I said, join in. So here we go. There's a lot of things to consider when it comes to which type of bar you want to do, and that is cost, and that is liability. It is your guests and thinking about how your guests are going to behave, and it's just the type of atmosphere that you want to provide. It might come down to a cultural thing. There are certain cultures that you must have a full bar, or else everybody's going to leave. I mean, I've seen this happen. So let's just start with cost. Obviously, it's going to be cheaper to just do wine and beer. It's considerably less than having to go out and buy all the spirits. The one thing with the wine and beer only is that you want to make sure that you have a variety of wines and beers to choose from, because some people just don't like wine and beer. And you know what? Like I always say, too bad. This is your party, and you certainly want to consider your guests and think about your guests. And there is no way that you can please all of the people all of the time. So you have to make the decision that is going to serve you best, serve your budget best, and address, the likes of as many guests as possible. So for those that don't like wine or beer, they can just have a soft drink or suck it up and maybe try something new. But it is important though to have a variety of wines available, and you want to think about the weather. In the summertime, people tend to drink more white wine. People tend to drink more white wine in general when they're not eating. So during the cocktail hour, or if it is more of a heavier d'oeuvre reception, with a lot of movement and a lot of food stations, and it's warm outside, you're going to see more white wine drunk than you're going to see red. But if it's a formal sit-down dinner, maybe in the fall, or closer to the winter months with heavier foods, at that portion of the evening, you're going to see a little bit more red wine. So you want to consult with your caterer. You want to consult with, your venue manager, your wedding planner, to find out the ratio of the breakdown of how many wines you're going to get and what varietals you're going to want to get to match your foods. So it's always nice to have a Chardonnay. I find there are people that can be allergic to the tannins that are in Chardonnay. So we usually like to stick with a Sauvignon Blanc with maybe some French white varieties. Perhaps a Pinot Grigio is kind of a crowd pleaser, as far as your white wines go, and then for your red wines, it's always nice to have something a little heavier like a Cabernet Sauvignon, and then moving down to maybe a Pinot Noir. And again, those French and Italian ones, and there's some wonderful Spanish wines, again, that can match. And it's fun also to have your wines match the region that your wedding is in. Now, you might not be in a place that has great wines, but you might be from somewhere that does. So you may be having your wedding in a Midwestern state, but say you're from Virginia. You might want to have some Virginia wines on display just because that's where you're from. And there's some pretty good Virginia wineries. California, it's endless. So you want to put a little thought into it. Just like everything else in the wedding, you want it to be a little bit customized, so it speaks to the culture and to the style of your wedding and you two as a couple. Same goes with beer. I mean, look at all the microbreweries there are out there now. Whatever's local to your area is something that you might want to have. And here again, if you're getting married in a destination place, somewhere else aside from, your hometown, you might want to bring in a beer. Even if it's not a fancy microbrew, it might just be a beer that's, historical in the town that you come from. And that will say, oh, that's where the groom's from. This is so cool. It's cool in the photographs. And of course, when you have a wine and beer wedding, you always want to make sure that you have enough soft drinks. It's always fun to have vintage bottles of Coke. I had a couple that had cheer wine. They love cheer wine. We did that recently. Again, things that you love that, you know, can be there for people to drink. And always, of course, water. You always want to have lots and lots of water. I love having water bottles. They can take it with them, you know, and it's really easy, doesn't have to be replenished as long as it's displayed nicely. So the moral of the story with a wine and beer wedding that will save you money from having a full bar wedding is just keep it interesting, you guys. Have a lot of variety for your guests and bring the fun into it. Now, the next step up is something that I don't always recommend because I think it can be a little bit limiting, but people love doing it, and that's having the wine and beer reception with the addition of the specialty cocktail. Specialty cocktails have been kind of on trend for a while now. The reason that I'm not crazy about them when it's just wine and beer and the specialty cocktail is it might not be something that people like. And it's sort of a teaser almost because, you know, here's this one drink that you can have that may have vodka in it, but you can't have another kind of vodka drink. And if I'm someone that enjoys vodka as a spirit and I just want a plain old vodka tonic and the bartender says, no, sorry, you know, we already have the, you know, the Rovers all mixed up because that's the name of the bride's dog's name. And we named it after the bride's dog. We already have the Rovers mixed up, but that happens to have, you know, pineapple juice and cream de cocoa in it with the vodka. Sorry. So I hate when guests are told no to something, especially when it's like that close and it's right there. That's just, maybe it's my silly reason for not having specialty cocktails. I think if you're gonna go with any type of alcohol, any type of spirit above and beyond wine and beer, you just need to have a bar. And it doesn't have to be like the everything bar. I think you gotta have, you know, the usual suspects on there, like you've gotta have your vodka, you've gotta have your scotch or your bourbon. You don't necessarily have to have gin, you don't necessarily have to have tequila. I mean, that's all the way, 100%. But I think you're gonna be making, you know, 95 to 100% of your guests happy if you have a good dark alcohol and a good light alcohol and maybe a few things in between. A wedding, unless it's a special thing that you're serving craft cocktails and you have special bartenders that are knowledgeable in craft cocktails, that's a whole different thing. And that's a thing. I mean, it's something that you can do and have a little offshoot type bar where you've got the muddled mint and the smoked pineapple and all those wonderful things that go into craft cocktails. And there are some amazing services that do that and do just that. But here's the things about a full bar. Now, a full bar is definitely going to cost you a lot more money. You want to make sure that you have enough alcohol. And again, you're going to consult with your caterer on how much is going to be needed, or just consult with whoever the bartender is that's serving it. You're going to have the right glasses. I really don't like to see plastic glasses at a wedding. I mean, you know how I feel about that. So you're going to have, you know, the highball glass. You might have to have a martini glass. So that's an additional expense that you're going to have to rent. And if you have more than one bar in the space, everything is going to have to be doubled. So you're going to have to double each spirit. Now, a lot of liquor stores will take returns if it's something that you don't want to keep for your own bar. I always say overbuy. The last thing you want to do is run out of alcohol or wine or beer in the middle of a wedding reception and have to send someone to go and get it. So take the numbers that you are given and literally double them and overbuy so that there's enough there for everyone to drink during the course of the evening. One of the other aspects of a full bar that can sometimes be a concern is over drinking. You know, people can start asking for shots and you know where that goes. And so you may have some guests that over imbibe, and that is far more likely to happen when you have a full bar with liquor than with a wine and beer bar. Now guys, there's some ways where you can meet in the middle and you can have everything you want, but control it a little bit more. Sometimes I'll recommend is to have that full bar just during cocktail hour. So when those guests hit the cocktail hour right after the ceremony, if it's in the same location, or they arrive there if it's in a different location, they are able to order whatever they would like. They can have a mixed drink, they can have wine, they can have beer, they can have a soft drink. But then after dinner, begins, just go into wine and beer. Make sure your guests know this. Make sure there's a little sign on the bar that informs them of this so they can be prepared for this change. They might want to get a couple of more drinks before they go to the table. But that's another way to kind of address your budget, address any concerns you may have about liability, about guests imbibing too much. If you start off with that full bar at cocktail hour and then go into wine and beer. And you know, I have preached this before, when it comes to bars at weddings, I do not believe in cash bars. I think, again, you're inviting your guests to a party. If you were to invite guests to a dinner party at your home, would you ever ask them to pay for anything? The same goes for your wedding. I don't think people should be asked to pay for anything at the wedding reception, especially the bar. So that's my 2 cents. As usual, I would love to hear your 2 cents and how you might have been creative with the bar at your wedding, or any ideas you may have. As always, guys, please leave that information in the comments. I am so grateful for you watching Weddings by CLED. This has been so much fun. I want you to keep watching, and if you haven't pressed that subscribe button, please do so. That will give you notifications that will allow you to get fresh new content. If you are a bride, if you are planning any type of an event, if you're an aspiring event planner, we have so much information for you.